Hey, this is GoldTurkey49, and today what I want to talk about is structured PvP in Guild Wars 2, or to put it another way, tournaments. And a lot of people have been out doing some PvP, and well, what's tournaments? What's going on with that? Well, for now, you have free tournaments. And what a free tournament is you don't even need a tournament ticket. You can just go and play. Some people have been wondering, well, why are tournament tickets in the game? Sometimes in your reward chest for PvP, get these things called tournament tickets. I don't know what they're going to be used for exactly, because, hey, I don't work there. So, who knows? But for now, tournaments are free and you can play. How does a tournament work? Well, tournaments cycle through 3 maps at the time of me making this video. Forest of Nefel, Legacy of Fofire, Battle of Kylo, or Kilo, whatever. And it cycles through those 3 maps because it's a sort of a tournament structure where there's 8 teams, then there's 4 teams, then there's the finals with 2 teams. So think of it as just your standard tournament bracket. The other interesting thing is that it's 5v5. So you have 5 players, they have 5 players. Now, when you're just playing normally, just kind of casually in the structured PvP outside of a tournament, you can have up to 8 people on your team. Although a lot of times it does tend to settle around 6 or 7. But when you go to tournaments, you have 5. Another interesting thing about tournaments is if you're going to be playing tournaments, you can pug if you want. You don't have to be in a guild. You can just get a group together, invite friends, see how far you get. Our guild, Tragic Kingdom, is more of a casual guild. You know, we got maybe 20-30 people in it. But out of those people, honestly, only about 6 or 7 log on a regular basis and are interested in PvP. So our guild is very much a quote-unquote pug guild. We're pretty casual for the most part. Now, I say that, but in reality, I play warrior. I like my warrior, but I've been playing other professions too. He's our thief. Cutluch, he's another thief. The 3 of us tend to always be on Skype. We're always PvPing, hanging out, doing our thing. So even though I say that our guild is predominantly casual, I guess what I mean by that is there's no expectations. I mean, some people are pretty hardcore about certain aspects of the game. I would consider myself much more hardcore about PvP, in and of the sense that I strive to become a better PvPer. I want to become better. In my last video, I talked about, for instance, reading the enemy's bar to see what sort of boons or buffs or debuffs they have on them, to understand how to fight opponents better. Like if you see somebody just activate stability, and that would be a good time for you to not use CC, right? You wait for their stability to go away, or you get rid of it somehow, then you use your CC to stun them and kill them. It's little things like that that are going to make the difference between an average player and a good player. So when you're playing tournaments, wow, let me tell you, when you go up against an organized team, it shows. Communication is important. You need to all be on Skype or Mumble or Vent or whatever you have, but you need to be talking with each other. If you don't have that, you're never going to make it very far. Communication is important. The other thing that's really important is individual skill. That's one thing that's interesting is you have your communication, you have your strategy, knowing where to go, what to do. But if you're bad at 1v1s, like if you can't win a 1v1 fight to save your life, it doesn't matter if you have really good communication and you have a really good strategy, because what'll happen is you're trying to defend a point, some guy from the enemy team shows up, they beat you 1v1, they take the point, so you're dead, so you're not helping your team, then somebody else from your team has to peel off the point that they're trying to settle. So it's one of those things where those are kind of the 3 aspects of playing in structured PvP. If you want to be good at tourneys, those are what you need. You need communication, you need a good strategy, but you also need individual skill in the players that are playing. Every now and again, we'll go up against a team that just has 1 or 2 players that are better. I mean, they're just flat out better. And when I try to 1v1 them, when or Cutlass tries to 1v1 them, we all lose. And it's like, wow, where did this guy come from? He's so good. That's rare, but it does happen. So those are kind of the things you need. Going back to the whole strategy thing, remember that it's the 3 maps, Forest of Nifel, Legacy of Fofire, Battle of Kilo, Kylo, whatever. So for the Forced, like let's say you spawn blue team, so obviously you're going to want to take Hinge, and then you got Chieftain spawn here. Chieftain's by you. That's a good thing about Force and Nifel is you want to try to get Chieftain and maybe steal spawn here, once again assuming you're blue team. Hold down the Hinge and hold down the keep. Typically we send 1 guy Hinge, then we send 4 guys up towards the keep, although we can split and do 1 straight to keep, 1 to Hinge, 3 to chief. The Hinge, depending on what happens, will either go to keep to help defend or go to the chief and then come back from behind on the keep. And then really for us it's about holding those 2 points and eventually we'll win. If you can't hold 2 points, try to back cap, try to make it so they're the ones always working to get the second point. But that really goes for any map, not just Force and Eiffel. So we go into the second map, Legacy of Foefire, because like I said, at the time of me making this video, it always plays the same 3 maps every tournament. Round of 8 is always Force and Eiffel, round of 4 is always Legacy of Foefire, and then the finals is always Battle of Kylo. So we go to Legacy of Foefire. Let's assume this time you're red team. We'll switch it up a little bit. So you're going to want to take the quarry, and then you're going to want to take the graveyard, but you don't want your lord to die either, because that's a lot of points for the enemy team. What we tend to do is we tend to send 1 quarry, 4 graveyard, and then the one going quarry will come up to that little cliff right above the graveyard where he can throw down range attacks or go back to the quarry to defend it. And it's really just about locking down those 2 points and making sure the lord doesn't get killed. Although sometimes you have to do a back kill on their lord if things get racy and you need a fast, 100-something points. Then the last map gave our guild the most trouble, Battle of Kilo. So let's say we'll go back to blue team this time because I like switching it up. So you start blue, you got Mansion, you got Clock Tower, and then both teams have their Treb. So once again, send 1 Mansion, send 3 or 4 Clock, and then when I say 3 Clock, then you'd want the 4th to go to their Treb and kill their Treb. The battle, this map gave us a lot of trouble because what happens is if you let the enemy team get their Trebuchet going, and the guy on the Trebuchet actually knows what he's doing, you're done. You will lose, guaranteed, end of story, you're dead. But the problem is if somebody on the Treb is really, really good at 1v1s as well, and you send 1 guy to kill their Treb, the guy you sent loses, and it's like, well, wait a second. So you're really, it's a tough map, because you got to send your best 1v1er to kill their Treb, and what we like to do is eventually just have everybody sit in the clock tower and look out the windows. If they try to backcap Mansion, we send the appropriate number of team members down there, and then what we also do is we forget about our Treb. Our Treb doesn't exist as far as we're concerned. This actually opens up a good advantage for us, because typically the enemy team will send 1 or 2 to our Treb at the start of the game to try to kill it off. Well, if we send nobody to defend our Treb, then we can actually lock down the clock tower and the Mansion pretty easily and still send 1 or 2 to get rid of their Treb, because they don't have the superior numbers when they meet us at clock tower. So that's kind of the order of the maps and all that. So how have we been doing? So we talked about kind of what tournaments are, and like I said, we're more of a casual guild. Well, we've played in 5 tournaments. We got second place, 3rd or 4th place, which means we lost in the round of 2, 2nd place, and then in our 5th tournament just last night, we finally got 1st place. I think we're doing great. I mean, like I said, we're not really a professional team. We're not sitting here playing the game 8 to 12 hours a day. We're not sponsored by anybody. We're just a group of guys who like to PvP, have a little fun, and it ended up working out. Our team composition is a little weird. Usually we run 2 warriors, 2 thieves, and a guardian. Sometimes we'll mix in other professions, but that's typically what we run. We don't run that out of a desire to have that as our team format. Personally, I think that's a terrible format. But the problem is all the guys we got playing are either good at warrior, good at thief, and then we got 1 guy who plays the guardian. So it's one of those things where I'm not going to say, well, we need a Mesmer or else, and then you get some guy who's never played a Mesmer before. It's over. You're going to lose. Don't do that. Play what you're comfortable with, but when you're not playing tournaments on the side, try to learn other professions that you might need to play when you're in a tournament. Right now, I'm trying to learn Mesmer, because Mesmers are really, really powerful when you're in a tournament. So I'm trying to figure them out, trying to get a good build and things like that. How did all these matches go? Well, here's an interesting thing. In the very first tournament we played, when we took 2nd place, we actually went up against Team Vision Valor Victory, and they are a professional gaming, whatever you want to call it. They're actually sponsored by SteelSeries, and we beat them in the round of 4. Here's this professional team. They're probably playing 8 to 12 hours a day. They're sponsored by SteelSeries, and yeah, we actually beat them pretty handily too. And I thought that was pretty cool. That was a real big booster for our guild, because that was the very first tournament we played in. I remember we were saying to us, wow, we can do this. We can actually compete for now. I think when tournaments stop becoming free and money gets on the line, I don't think a casual guild like my guild will have a place in that kind of a thing, because and that's another thing too, is like and Cutluch, our 2 thieves, they're both kind of 17 to 19 years old. They're starting college this year. Things are going to destabilize pretty quickly. I think 3 or 4 months down the road we probably won't be playing tournaments anymore. I would love to still be playing tournaments, but I don't think we will, because life happens, things destabilize. So, and we took 2nd place in our 2nd tournament, and these 2 tournaments really showed us as a guild how we suck at Battle of Kilo, because we were just doing terrible on that map. We were really having trouble locking them down and getting any points. The third tournament, we got third or fourth place. We got knocked out in the round of 4 by Team Win. They devastated us. I think they beat us like 500 to 98 or some ridiculous thing like that, or maybe 500 to 80 something. Either way, they gut stomped us. And once again, there's that old saying, failure is the greatest teacher. Well, I disagree a little bit. I think failure can be the greatest teacher if you're willing to learn. When something happens and you fail, look at what went wrong on your side and look at what went right on their side. Thankfully, I recorded that gut stomping, although I won't be showing too much of it here, because that could be a whole video in itself, really. And I would literally sit there frame by frame, tabbing my arrow key, looking at what their team was doing. And one of the big things their team was doing, we figured out, is they had a mesmer, and part of his spec was to steal boons. And he would come up to me, because I'm the 100 Blades Warrior, and I would activate my stability, I would activate my quickness, I would activate my ultimate, so I'd get might and fury, and roar, I've got all these boons, and I'm going to charge in and 100 Blades you, roar, and then he would just bloop, and he would just drain all those boons. And so I would lose my stability, and then they would stun lock me and kill me in about 3 seconds, and it was like, what the? I'd never seen that before. They devastated us. So it was a good example, or a good example of how failure can teach you. Although it does help that I'm frapsing all these games, because I can go back and look frame by frame and say what went wrong, how did we lose here. So that was an awesome tournament because we got spanked, so good chance to learn. Fourth tournament, we took second place. We almost won the last game. Things were really starting to look up, and then in the fifth tournament, which was just yesterday, we finally took first place. And once again, I know a lot of guilds out there have probably taken a million first places, and they've played 87 tournaments so far. Well, we've only played 5 tournaments, and I think it's pretty cool that we're consistently getting second or first place. And yeah, I mean, like I said, we're kind of a pug guild. We're a casual guild. We're just guys hanging out, doing our thing, throwing down some PvP, so it's pretty sweet. So you might be asking, well, Cold Turkey, gosh, can I play tournaments? Like I said, tournaments let you pug, like straight up pug. If you don't have a group at all, you can just tell the tournament to put you into the first group that has room for you, and it will. That can be really difficult, especially if you don't have like Skype or Mumble or Vent. That's one thing I would recommend doing, is if you're going to be a true pug in tournaments, get every single type of voice chat out there. Like, download them all, get them all working. That way, when you're with a team and one of the guys says, hey, I got this vent, or one of the guys says, hey, I got Skype, then hopefully you can all communicate, and that'll help a lot. And then, of course, the other thing is strategies, be good in one-on-ones. One of the cool things about tournaments is if you finish third or fourth, you get a copper chest. If you finish second place, you get a silver chest. And if you finish first place, you get a gold chest. And it's all SPVP or tournament PvP gear, which is different than your standard ranked gear. You know how it's rabbit, deer, diala, or wolf, I think, where you go through the ranks and you get gear. Well, this gear is from a different source, and if you break it down, you can actually get PvP tournament tokens to create PvP tournament gear, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of really cool stuff with that. So you know what? Even if you always end up finishing third or fourth or second, it's still worth doing the free tournaments every now and again, just for the gear you could get. You can make a lot of really cool stuff on your character. Although personally, if you're just out there to straight up farm glory, I think you're better off just consuming a glory booster, battling against pugs, just in standard play, structured PvP. But tournaments are cool. So that's tournaments. That's how we're doing. Like I said, we're doing pretty good. We beat VVV, Vision Valor Victory, in our first tournament ever. We beat, professional teams. So that was kind of cool. And then in our 5th tournament, we took first place. Woo! So things are going pretty sweet. I'm trying to learn Mesmer. Maybe I'll do a Mesmer video next. I'm not 100% sure. And, still rocking the war. So yeah, Guild Wars 2 is going great. Been playing it for about, 3 weeks now. And I really think this is an MMO that I'm going to be keeping for a while, guys. So this is Cold Turkey. Thanks for watching.